guys, what's up? I'm Chance and this is Coffee with Chance. Today we're doing another coffee review video and I'm covering a coffee sent to me by MistoBox, which is a coffee subscription service, and they're pretty cool because they take coffees from all over the world. They have favorite roasters and they hand select coffees that they send to you based on your preferences and the ratings you give their previous coffee. So I think that's a pretty sweet deal. Definitely check them out. But the coffee we are reviewing today is from a roaster called Thou Mayest. They are based in Kansas City, Missouri. Their creed is the way is open, so they are all about self-responsibility and self-initiative, just taking action upon yourself. And I think that's really cool because they are all about the end quality in their products and coffee, and they are also focused on a customer-centric organization. So it really focuses on the needs of the customer, helping address all of those and educating the customer so they're able to make a accurate decision on what coffee would appeal to them. So I think that's a cool thing, and that's something to look for in a company, something that focuses on their customers. Yeah, let's get to the beans. Today, the coffee is coming out of Brazil. Brazil Cocarive Cooperative. I did a little looking into them because the tin itself does not actually give any specs on the growers or the cultivators of the beans. It just says that it is single origin, and that's pretty much it. But I did a little digging and I found that the Cocarive Cooperative is based in a region called Carmo de Minas. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but I'm not an expert on Latin American geography. So once again, I apologize. But they are focusing on perfecting local coffee production for everyone because that promotes development for their region in Brazil, which has been used for many years to cultivate coffee. So that's something we would all like to see, you know what I mean? And yeah, from there, let's dig in, see what exactly these have to entail. And one thing I have to add is on the bag they have a one-way seal, and the one-way seal, it lets air out and it also prevents air from coming in, so it keeps the beans a lot fresher and preserves them for a lot longer. And that's one thing I have to say is pretty cool because it shows that they really do emphasize the freshness of their beans, which a lot of the bigger companies don't. So I'm looking at the beans and they definitely show a lighter roast. They don't have that dark, really toasty brown that you see on a lot of dark roast. Even medium roast have that. This has a nice light brown with like a tannish inner layer. So yeah, it hasn't been roasted for that long. And another thing that shows me that is the not underwhelming smell, but the very thin aroma that it has, especially when I open the bag. Whenever I open a bag of coffee, I'm usually expecting like a waft of aroma to just hit me in the face, like bow. But I did not get that this time. It is very thin, but it has those distinguished flavors and scents in it, which is very characteristic to light roasts. So I smell this, and the first flavor that hits me is caramel. I smell a lot of notes of caramel, and other than that, what it says on the tin is nutmeg, and I agree with that. It has those notes of nutmeg in it, but it also has very subtle hints of like wood and an earthy aroma to it, which is definitely something cool and something that would usually be masked by the full-bodied aroma of a darker or medium roast. And it's not like a dirty, earthy smell. It's kind of like an endearing or inviting aroma to it. So those are the beans, and let's get to the brew. All right. So one thing I have to note when this was coming out of the drip machine is, and that's what I use today, a drip machine, is that the brew itself is very thin. It's a light brown, and it doesn't have that full-bodied dark brown color to it that we're used to seeing from dark and medium roasts. And that's what I got from the looks mainly. There's not a lot of oil to it. It's pretty much, yeah, there's little specks on the top if anything, but little to no oil. And let's smell it, guys. I'll see you on the other side. The smell's a lot sweeter in the brew than the beans. You can smell a lot more of the caramel. It even brings out notes of like cocoa to some extent, and it has still those subtle notes of very earthy aroma, like kind of dirt. It might sound weird, but yeah, kind of a dirt aroma to it. But other than that, it has a small scent of what I would say is coconut. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I would put the name of coconut on it. And yeah, cheers, guys. One thing I will say is it is not as acidic as I would have expected it to be. As a light roast, I would have expected way more of a zing in my mouth. It's not that I'm complaining. It's just, it's a lot more balanced than I would have expected it to be. Especially because it doesn't have that full body aroma to it, but it does have that smoothness that you would expect from a dark roast. And that is definitely something that is very unique to this coffee. Let's take a second swig. With the second sip, I could really start to taste almost tea leaves in there. It has that flavor and that feeling. It's very smooth at the end, but the initial hit on your tongue, it tastes very, not acidic, but tangy almost. And then it starts to fade over a half of a second, and that's where those subtle notes of sweetness start to come out. This is definitely a very light and mellow coffee, and it has a lot of those very distinguished flavors to it that I'm not used to seeing in dark and medium roast, because they just have that very full body coffee flavor to it that does kind of mask all the other flavors that are supposed to be brought out in the coffee, especially if your coffee isn't fresh or if it's been ground for a while. Yeah, and that is what this coffee shows a lot of. Just these distinguished, subtle flavors that you wouldn't really see in other coffees. One thing I have to say is this is the least coffee tasting coffee I've ever had. It tastes more like a tea than a coffee to me, honestly. But that's pretty much it, guys. That is the Brazil Cocarive Cooperative from the roasters Thou Mais in Kansas City, Missouri. And once again, I got that from the coffee subscription service MistoBox. Thank you guys for watching my video. Like and subscribe if you liked it, and check out more for more coffee reviews and coffee coverage.